There are many unsolved mysteries in the world of Limbus Company. For example, what is Dante's true identity? The goal of Limbus Corp? Donald Ishmael's true size? And the greatest mystery of all, did the sinners have sex? To answer that question, we are going to use this tier list. Starting from the bottom is the almost certainly a virgin category. Now, I use the word almost because there is currently no 100% confirmation that any of them is still pure. So, we can let our imagination go wild. Progressing to the top, there's unlikely, maybe, high possibility, and almost certainly did it tier. Again, I use almost because there's no confirmation yet. Ryoshu might change that. Speaking of Ryoshu, I will separate the sinners that already have their own kanto from the ones that don't. For sinners that don't have one, because we don't have much information, I will be using their literature book as a baseline. Please note that I haven't read most of the books, so I'll be using the reliable source that is reddit.com. For the ones that have, we will be mainly using their story in the game because it can be very different compared to the respective book, though we can certainly use the book if there's some additional information needed. Also, I won't be counting the ships on the bus because it will be very unfair, and I'm pretty sure Dante organized private sessions for the sinners every week. Anyways, with everything explained, let's get started with the first sinner. Gregor is pretty much a virgin, the reason being his Mr. Crab-like arm. If he experiences too much emotion, the arm will go wild and kill his partner. It's good when in an active war zone, not really good when trying to be in a relationship.
Oh no!
He got the arm when he was 16, so there just isn't time for him to find a partner before that. Now of course, he could have done it before the arm was installed, but I think that's a bit too far-fetched to imagine. Her relationship with Sonya is confirmed to be childhood friends. There are many implications as to being a childhood friend, or maybe I've read too many hentais. Anyways, unlike Gregor, who has a concrete reason for being virgin, there isn't anything that suggests Rania hasn't done it, nor is there anything that suggests that she already did it. It would make sense to put her in the unlikely tier. However, this is my video, and I'm biased, so I would like to put her in the maybe tier. A lot of theories suggest that she is above 25 at the time of the arrival of the bus. If I had to spend a quarter of a century with someone hot and sexy like Sonya, I wouldn't be able to control myself. Sorry Gregor, but I like the ship way more.
최선을 다해볼게.
He is almost certainly a virgin. I don't think being a vice leader of a class will get you any bitches, and his relationship with Cromer is laid out pretty clear in his kanto, which implies that he didn't land it with her. Now, one thing to note is that there's a massive time gap between him waking up after being knocked out by Cromer's goon and joining Limbus Company, and it is certainly a possibility that he did something during that time. However, I don't think you would have the mood to do it after seeing your family get brutally murdered, even if you were offered it for free. So he is pretty much staying in this tier. Also, fun fact, Sinclair's love interest in the book is Damien's mom. Yi-sang is a typical workaholic who probably isn't very interested in finding love. As a matter of fact, I think Yi-sang would rather listen to an audiobook about women's anatomy to pleasure himself rather than going out to get a girlfriend. Anyways, his relationship with girls in his past most probably are just stuck being co-workers, though the possibility of them having a more romantic relationship isn't out of the equation. So it would make sense to put it in the unlikely tier. She probably scissors with Kui Kwang every single day. Unlike every sinners we've talked about until now, Ishmael's relationship with Kui Kwang is much deeper and more intimate. Oh, me and her are just friends! Yeah, I know you've been fucking each other, I just can't prove it. Unfortunately, unless there's a 24/7 4K HD camera on the boat that captured both of them having the ground pound, we would have to settle on them being just friends. However, this is still a better candidate than everyone we've talked about so far, so I think Ishmael firmly sits in the maybe. He most likely saved his first time for though we can definitely explore more on his revenge. There's a possibility that to prove he is a worthy man, he could have went out and found a girl himself. I mean, that's what he did to Linton's sister in the actual book. There's also a possibility that Heathcliff already did it with but his kanto wouldn't even happen in the first place if he actually got the balls. At the end, it's just all speculation, and I think that it's more of a logical option to put him in the virgin tier. This would be the easiest to answer if we are talking about the current Dawn. Because number 1, she probably doesn't even know what sex is. Number 2, her first actual human interaction after losing her memory is Virgilius inviting her to the bus. Not very romantic. If not Dawn, then let's talk about Sancho. We could go for the non-related Incensia route, but seeing her behavior towards her father, I don't see it happening. Dulcinea and Nicolia kinda hates her guts, so that's out of the equation too. Now, there could be speculation about the time before she got turned into a blood fiend. However, I don't think Project Moon would discuss that timeline. We would have to work with what we got, and because of that, I'm fairly certain that she's a virgin. He's currently the only one in the group to have a fiancé, which means he must be high on the list, right? Well, actually no. We know from the story that Suel Baochai, his fiancé, is marrying him for political reasons. Is it purely political, or some love is actually there? We don't know. But it's implied that she wants to establish power for her family first before touching Honglu, which, spoiler, she didn't. As for Lin Yu, she only has a positive attitude towards Honglu after the family hierarchy evaluation. Their relationship for a period of time was pretty sour. Same for Si Chun, so no blood related route. Now, the Honglu in the book is an absolute freak, doing it with both men and women. However, Honglu in the game is a completely different person. He's naive because of someone, doesn't have any materialistic or romantic desire, not even any goal in mind really, which is kinda the plot for his kanto. So, despite a lot of people saying he already did it because he's a rich kid, I don't see any reason for him to do it. Though, I can be the one to change that. Now that we've discussed everyone with a kanto, let's discuss the rest of the sinners. If anyone deserves to be in the highest tier, it's Ryoshu. The major plot in her book is that she had a daughter, but unfortunately, the child died. And having a child should mean that you've taken a rot up your oven. Now, there is a teeny tiny chance that she conceived through artificial insemination. But like, it's Ryoshu we're talking about. To her, it's like using AI generated image. Anyways, there's a lot of implication that she does indeed have, or used to have, a child in the actual game. The dozens of times she flinched when someone mentions the word family, or the time in spring cultivation when she was really good with kids. Now, according to the roadmap, Ryoshu's kanto will be the next to come out, and it will be very ironic if all of my predictions turn out wrong. But hey, if that happens, I'll make a separate video to milk more revenue. We could use the one line he said during Kanto 4 to determine his ranking. When everyone was confused and nervous about having to go to a bar, Mersalt shocked everyone with his experience going to one in search of life's joys. In his book, he is also a very experienced man, so everything is pointing to him already did it. Not as definitive as Ryoshu's case though, I would say, so I'm putting him in the likely tier. In the Odyssey, Aldous left his wife and kids to go fight in the war. If there's anything to go by it, Aldous would be on the same level as Ryoshu. Plus, she's a hot, sexy, looks way sharper for a 40-year-old something age woman.
I'm about to blow.
I know you want her, don't need to pretend. Though, to be fair, the fact that she was in the military for most of her life and her personality is kind of ass reduces her chance quite a bit. But surely somebody had to have approached her at some point, right? High possibility that she had sex. Okay, so I'ma be honest, I don't know what Kim Ji-hoon would do to Faust. Like, at least with Ryoshu and Aldous, there's like a safe theme to go off of. Faust and Gretchen's relationship is probably not a good thing to go off of. Anyway, there are a lot of theories going on, but I'll just ignore all of them and ask, would Faust be interested in sex? Well, maybe. I mean, if you want to learn all the knowledge there is to offer, then surely at one point you need to learn about it. But considering how sex is sort of a taboo subject in the city, I think she'll be like Yi-sang and just stick to books about men's anatomy. Unlikely tier. There are just too many theories as to who, or even what Dante is. Ironically enough, this video is a bunch of theorizations. but sometimes we should just shut our brains and ask, would they fuck? Dante, I feel like would be the type of person to spend all their time focusing on their job and helping others rather than fighting love. For now, I would consider them a virgin. But if their maidenless status is actually canon, then they can be rest assured knowing Marcel is always at service.